Yeah.
And that's where I started. So we'll talk all about this stuff.
Okay, I think we're rolling.
Okay, hey guys, Dan the Wolfman here with the one and only Sugar Rashad Evans here right after the fights on FX, and you know, you're a fellow Michigander like myself, so I want to talk about those early times to begin with. And how you got started. You know, I originally started with Dan Severin. Today I saw you tape a special for Fuel TV, and you threw out a name there. One of my old training partners, Noe Hernandez, Matt Torres. You know, I was training with those guys back for Noe's fight against Chuck Liddell, which was Chuck's first fight in the UFC, which most people haven't seen. That was a great fight. And so I want to kind of, in Crown Boxing Gym. So I want to know about how you kind of got started and all that.
Well, I got started with Matt Torres. We started training this gym in Lansing, Michigan, this old beat-down building.
Oh, yeah.
And Noe Hernandez was a big part of the gym, too, as well. And those guys, they would go to Iowa and train with some of the guys with Dan Severin. I mean, not Dan Severin.
Mark Hansen. Mark Hansen.
Matt Hughes and Militich Camp. They would go train with the guys in Militich Camp. So they had the first, you know, big fight experience going up there and training with those guys. And they brought all that knowledge back to Michigan to where I was. And after I graduated from college, I was looking to get into something, and I met Matt Torres. Okay. So it was just like a natural fit.
Yeah, I called that place the dungeon.
Once right?
Noe showed me against the wall. I went for a guillotine, and he goes under my leg for that pickup, right, and slams me into the wall, and like I missed a rusty nail by like that much. That was the no holds barred days.
Yeah, that's what it's called. That's what it's called NHB.
Yeah, it's not nice and safe and on TV like it is nowadays.
But you know, we actually started training at Dan Severin's gym too, because after a while, you know, me and Matt Torres, we just beat the hell out of each other so much. We needed some new meat, so we went out to train at Dan Severin's gym. And at the time, Dan Severin was traveling so much because he was still actively fighting. And Matt Torres started taking over some classes from him. And that's how we started being affiliated with that team too much and going there and training with those guys a lot.
Was Danger Zone the first place you fought?
Danger Zone in Angola, Indiana.
Yeah, okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And what about Crown Boxing Gym? Because that's actually the gym that I one of my first boxing gyms where I trained for my fight against Jeremy Horn, where I was doing my boxing. And then I've seen you in there before.
Yeah. Well, after Matt Torres, he went away for a little bit. He moved away for a while, and I didn't really have any place to train. And I always remember Noe Hernandez telling me, listen, if you want to get your hands right, you got to go to Crown Boxing. So I went to Crown Boxing. At first, those guys were kind of standoffish because it's just, you know, for boxers only.
They didn't know about the MMA.
They didn't know anything about it, so they didn't look at it, they didn't respect the sport of MMA. So when I first came in there, I had to pretend like I was just, you know, wanting to get some experience boxing. And then I befriended Joaquin Rodriguez, and Joaquin Rodriguez, you know, I told him I had this fight coming up on the Ultimate Fighter show, and then he said that he'll take me on and he'll be my coach.
Yeah, and your hands look great. You know, I liked your moving around and chucking on the Ultimate Fighter that Matt Hughes gave you crap for. I think if you can move, you're just jealous that you can't move like that.
You know what? I took a lot of heat for that, and still to this day, people look at me as a cocky, arrogant fighter. But you know what? I always want to compete and have fun. And the person you see right now you're talking to is not the actual person who competes. Yeah. It's a different side, and that's what fighting does. It brings out that other person. That's why fighting it makes me be a different person, because I'm not that kind of person in life. But in a fight, I can be whatever I want to be.
Yeah, and of course, you know, this is the early training, and then you went on to Greg Jackson's, and now you kind of helped form the Black Zillions, and you guys are doing great. You got Mario Sperry with you. I mean, Mario Sperry and Bustamante are the guys behind Brazilian Top Team. I think that's just like wow, Zen Machine's been teaching you and rolling with you and stuff.
And that's the crazy part, because
and Mario, great people. Yeah.
With Mario, me and Matt Torres used to watch the videos of Mario, and that's how I learned my jiu-jitsu. I learned my first basis of jiu-jitsu watching Mario Sperry DVDs.
So now, bing! You punch him in the face. Bing!
Yeah, you got the DVD too.
Oh yeah, I got the VHS tape. What are you talking about? There was a DVD there.
Yeah, that's right. It was VHS.
So you know, that's great. And now you're doing a lot of hosting here at FX, Fuel, and Fox. You're doing a lot of commentating. You know, I hear your mom likes it quite a bit.
Yeah, my mom loves it, man. But it's something like this. I'm only able to fight for a certain amount of time, you know, and I want to be able to leave the sport before the sport leaves me. So this is something I definitely would like to develop and fall back on after I can't fight no more.
Well, good. Before we get into the fights tonight, I want to ask you about 52. Is some of that
Yeah.
your brother or someone was teaching you some jailhouse rock, some 52 hands?
Daniel
52
Marks. Yeah. See, yeah, my boy Daniel Marks. I've been knowing him since like 2003, 2004. And you know, I went out there in Maryland and trained with him, and I went out to New York City and trained with him. And you know, there's a lot of stuff that I seen growing up in New York, you know, in New York State. And it's something I've always been interested in. And then I met Daniel, and then you know, there's different aspects of it that I actually still use. But it's definitely interesting. You see somebody like a really good 52 practitioner, and you're like, you know, it could really work.
It seemed like it influenced your movement and your style.
Yeah.
I mean, in a couple fights you can see it. Maybe was it against Forrest?
Yeah.
You can see, you know,
Yeah.
you can see that movement there. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's great. You know.
Yeah, I think there's I'm gonna start using it a lot more because I really just been so technically in my box.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a lot of areas where I can use it and open up, you know, have some openness.
And throw some elbows and go down low and come up with the high kick again would be nice. And,
Exactly.
you know, and you know.
That's cool. You know about 52.
Yeah, you know, I actually at a small event, Ultimate Athlete magazine I was writing for years ago. I went to some training right before the fights, and you remember Homer Moore fought like twice in the UFC?
I remember.
All right, so Homer Moore from Arizona's down there, and there's like this old cat with him, right? And I'm kind of watching him, and I go up to him, and I'm like, you know, and I'm like, I mentioned 52 or Jailhouse Rock or whatever. He looks at me like, white boy, where did you?
Yeah,
how do you know what I'm doing over here?
Yeah.
'Cause he was just moving a little bit, and I was like, so actually, I thought that I was like, wow, that's, you know, I like all these obscure styles and Kali and Systema and how to put in different things in the MMA game because it's a big world out there.
It's a huge
and
world,
and you can, you know, a lot of martial arts, a lot of cultures, and you can take. That's what mixed martial arts means. You can take a little of this, a little of that, put some seasoning, your own flavor on it, and I think that's what you've done, and hopefully you'll continue to do even more of that.
For sure.
And do you have any idea what's coming up for you fighting wise?
You know, right now I'm just gonna you know, I've been healing my body up. I did 2 fights back to back, and I was, you know, had some bumps and bruises from the first fight, and then you know, even from the Tito Ortiz fight, I had a broke hand, and then I went into the Phil Davis fight and had some bumps and bruises from that camp, and then even with the Bones fight, that was a brutal fight for me, and I'm just kind of resting up a little bit and seeing what the UFC throws at me.
Well, you know, you've always been a guy who's used your speed and never minded going against heavyweights and stuff, but have you ever given any consideration to maybe dropping to middleweight?
I thought about it, and then I thought about how hard that weight cut is.
Yeah.
And I used to wrestle 174 in college, and I would cut so much weight on a continuous basis, and I was like, you know what? If I ever compete again, I'm not cutting weight like that, because what ends up happening is like the philosophy is, oh wow, you go down to a lower weight and then you'll be stronger. Not necessarily. Some people go down to a lower weight and they're actually weaker. And I felt like when I was the best athlete I could be in college wrestling is when I wrestled closer to my natural weight. So that's what I try to do in fighting. I try to compete at my natural weight. I may go to 185 and not be the same fighter because I may be cutting too much weight. And
I don't say you need to, but I'm saying if Anderson manages to beat Chael, it's like.
Nah, yeah, I mean,
I think that'd be a great super. I always thought I never. People talk about super fights. I was like, that'd be an interesting fight.
You know, and Anderson's somebody I would love to fight because when it all said and done, whether you win or lose, to compete against the best in the sport is really what it's all about. You know, if I can walk away from my career and say that I competed against some of the best in my sport in that time era, then I can wrap up and say I had a really great career. So if the opportunity comes and that fight happens, I would drop the 185 to fight. You know, I mean, why not?
Or maybe catch weight. I mean, maybe it could happen.
Sure,
maybe at the end of his career, he goes, I want a former light heavyweight champion to compete against.
For sure, man.
So, what about tonight's fights? What did you think? The fights on FX, the prelims on Fuel TV were excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a great night of fights. You know, Gray Manor and the Clay Guida fight was not the fight that everybody was expecting. Clay Guida's game plan, I believe, got away from him. I believe he was trying to move effectively, but then what happened was he wasn't doing anything off of the movement. He had some good pop shots and he landed some clean shots, but then after that, he really needed to put the pressure on with a takedown or something to kind of marry his movements together with the shots. But Gray Manor, you know, he didn't give too much into his frustration, even though he started to. He just kept pressing action, and then he got the W because he landed some effective shots, and then he even had that great choke that he almost got.
And Gray is a guy, I mean, he went for it there. That was a beautiful sprawl into the guillotine. You know, he's a guy that obviously your little favorite favoritism towards because we used to be roommates.
I try not to be non-biased, but that's like watching him fight makes me sick. I get nervous.
What do you think about him frustrated? And I mean, he looked like he was trying to get adopted by someone last name Diaz.
Yeah,
the fingers and the little bit of swearing I think was going on.
Yeah.
And come at me and put his chin out. It took 3 solid punches.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a beard.
Yeah. I mean, what I didn't want him to get too emotional about it and then leave himself open and get caught with a kick. I felt like at some points where I got kind of nervous, like when he switched to southpaw, I felt like he was doing it so he can mix up and take a fast shot, but then his defense wasn't really right when he switched up left, and that's how he got caught with that high kick.
Yeah.
But I thought Gray fought the best fight that he could, considering the circumstances and considering what what he was facing with Clay Guida moving around the way he was.
Yeah, it's tough to fight anyone like that. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, for sure.
And I thought Guida did good in certain rounds. So.
Yeah, for sure he did. I mean, I thought he got the first 2 rounds, was moving a lot, but he landed some clean shots.
Yeah. So what about Stout Fisher 3? That didn't disappoint.
No, Stout Fisher 3 did not disappoint, but like I kind of agree with Danny was saying. Danny was saying that he felt like Fisher won. It was a lot closer than what the judges saying. And I kind of felt like Daniel was right in some respects because I felt like Fisher landed a lot of clean shots.
Harder punches.
Yeah, he did.
The punches that landed are just not clean, but they're physically damaging.
And that's and a couple of times it made it look like he was winning a stand-up battle was that after he landed a few clean shots, Stout would try to take him down. And whenever a guy does it, it kind of looks like the other guy is winning the exchange, and he doesn't want to stand up with him. So that was the kind of things that made me think that it was a lot closer than what it really was. But hats off to Stout, who showed evolution in his game and showed that being the biggest difference between this fight and the first fight they ever fought.
For sure, he's got wrestling now. Now he's got to learn to get comfortable to ground and pound from there, to pass guard from there, to not just go, okay, I'm stealing the round in the last minute. So, and then Brian Ebersol, I think he's a beast at 170, and he's talking about cutting down to 55.
Yeah, I was hearing at the tail end of that interview. I think he definitely has, a chance at 170.
Yeah, I don't think he has to.
But physically speaking, you look at his body, he doesn't look really that strong. I mean, those guys at 170, when he gets to a certain point, those guys are kind of like, they're kind of built,
yoked,
Yeah, they're kind of yoked. So maybe him dropping down to 155 would have behooved him a little more, just because of the fact that he's taller, he has a leverage, and now he can use all that experience and he can use his strength that he has.
I think he'll be right up there.
Oh man, at 155,
right
he'll be tough.
As long as it doesn't affect his cardio too bad, if he gets the right dietitian, that kind of stuff. You never know how that's going to go, but I think it could go really well for him.
Yeah, I was impressed. We're talking about the fights tonight. I was impressed with Cub Swanson. I've been watching Cub Swanson since he came to Jackson's gym, and he's just developed as a striker, and he's somebody who's very creative with his striking, and I love it. I love it. He did he did the Sandchild Kingstar. Yeah.
A lot of people
don't know that, but
he threw the hand down, and came up with the right high kick.
But then just being able to find Ross Pearson coming in after he had his leg with that left hook. I mean, that was a money shot.
Yeah. That's kind of like a sinker hook, because he hit it and it was down angled, and then he back pivoted his right foot at the same time.
It was just beautiful timing.
That was like a Strike Force knockout that happened with the English fighter. But anyway, it was a beautiful punch. And so I'm glad you're enjoying things here.
I love it.
And the Black Zillions is going good.
Yeah, the Black Zillions are going good. We're growing as a team. And there's a lot of hype around us, but at the same time, we're taking the growing pains. We don't win every single fight, but at the same time, we're growing. We're growing, and our team, we got a lot of up and coming guys that are developing. And I'll tell you what, we are definitely going to be a force. We're definitely going to be one of those camps that people are going to be like, wow, I want to go there, or wow, this is a camp that we need to watch out for. Because we have such great coaches, and the coaches are the anchor for the talent that's coming up. We run it really well there, and we have a great facility, and it's headed by ASM management. Glenn Robinson is my manager, and he's probably one of the best managers in the game. He's a real life Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this guy, he cares about all of his fighters, and he treats them. He has 2 kids, but then he says, I had 2 kids, but then I went and adopted 20 more.
Nice.
You
feel like he actually cares. It's not just about the almighty dollar.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. He's a successful businessman outside of doing the MMA managing and stuff like that. It seemed like he only did the MMA management just kind of something for fun because he kind of fell into it just because he wanted to help out some of his friends.
So you like things in Florida?
Oh, I love Florida.
You're coming out here a lot, though. Same with Kenny Florian.
I know.
Maybe you guys should open up a Evans Florian mixed martial arts center. You guys should do that and hire me so I have a job so I can teach. You know, I think we should set that up.
Yeah, well, I'm down with it.
All right, guys. So go to ProMMANow.com for all your information. Subscribe to my YouTube page, Dan The Wolfman 1, if you can. Anywhere someone can hit you up on Twitter. Or
just hit
like
me up at Twitter at Rashad Evans, or you can hit me up on Instagram, SugarFly79.
Yeah, and talk to your cable providers, satellite providers, guys. You're missing out if you don't have Fuel TV. The prelims are amazing. The post-fight shows are amazing. You know, the weigh-ins, there's specials, there's pride shows, there's all kinds of stuff. So, anyway, thanks, Rashad.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.